Welcome back to Lorna Páirce here on WLR, with thanks to PwC Waterford. Well, the Dungarvan leader and Brian Gleeson property are asking GAA fans to pick their Dream Hurling 15 from the last 50 years. And to tell us more, delighted to be joined in line by chairman of the judging panel and a man who refereed 4 All-Ireland hurling finals. That's Offaly man, Brian Gavin. And Brian, this is sure to stir up plenty of debate over the coming weeks. Where did this idea come from?
Yeah, a brilliant initiative from a good friend of mine, Liam Gleeson. And I suppose Liam, huge hurling man down in Waterford there in Ardmore. And I suppose I got to know the Gleesons through greyhounds of all things, Tomas, more than slickers.
Right.
And they have a great business down there, Ardmore. And, you know, some of their products they had, you know, while they didn't make many of my dogs go any harder, they certainly have a real good horse and greyhound business down there. And I got to know Liam and Kieran and Brian and Damien down through the years. So a really, really great family down there in Ardmore.
And it was, I believe it was Liam that came up with this idea, Brian. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, Liam rang me one day and we'd be chatting nearly every summer. He does like my column I have on the Examiner, and he does ring me on a weekly basis. And he rang me with this idea. I suppose just maybe I'd be in the Midlands and give it a wider span, that he was having a chat nearly every day with his good friend Noel Cummins, the bookmaker down there, who's an expert on hurling matches. And that's where the idea came from, Liam, and he bounced it off his son Brian. So Brian said he'd throw his back into it, and with the Dungarvan leader, and they came together with the fabulous prizes they have. So it was really a bit of fun to start out, and then we get into the great debate that we had going forward, you know. But Liam Gleeson is the man that came up with the idea originally. And
how can GAA fans submit their entries, Brian?
It's on the Dungarvan leader website and Brian Gleeson Properties, and also we'll be sharing it through all media stations. I've done it here in Offaly on the local Midlands 103 and on Twitter, and you can just download the entry form. It started off that with the skin and hair flying, we said we'd had 40 or 45, and then when we talked about maybe 60, but then when we went through each county it escalated, and so we ended up with 100 players plus 10 players that could be played in, and that played in different positions. So we called them utility players. Noel Cummins came up with that great idea of a utility player. So we have 110 players to choose from, and it's from the last 50 years, from 1970 to 2020, the best 15 hurlers. And whoever gets the most votes in their positions, that will be the team. And obviously the person has the correct amount of players in their positions will be the overall winner.
And what prizes are up for grabs in this competition, Brian?
Main prize is an overnight stay in the Cliff House in Ardmore with bed and breakfast and an evening meal. And anyone that might be familiar or look at the website, the Cliff House, a fabulous hotel overlooking the sea down in Ardmore. And second prize then is an evening meal for 2 people in the Eyster Hotel as well. So, and there's also another prize for people who enter that someone that mightn't be as lucky to win it will be pulled out. So fabulous 3 prizes just sponsored, and it's only a little bit of fun. And in this, as Liam says, in this current crisis under the COVID-19, you know, it just will get people thinking and bouncing ideas and teams off each other. So a fantastic initiative and an idea to keep people busy over the coming weeks.
It sure is. And like looking at that list, Brian, you mentioned of the 110 players, like it's, you know, from the legend of the 70s, Eddie Kay, right up to the modern day heroes, Austin Gleeson and Cian Lynch. I suppose from a Waterford's perspective, who are the Daisha players that are in the shake-up for this team?
Well, I suppose Ken McGrath is probably one of the outstanding candidates from Waterford, but look, Waterford have, and some of my great memories as refereeing Waterford teams, and it's amazing how they haven't won an All-Ireland, we'll say, in that period, in the last 15, 20 years. But Ken McGrath, Dan Shanahan, Owen Kelly, John Milan, you know, fantastic hurlers, Tony Brown, you know, huge hurling men that were fierce and lucky never to collect an All-Ireland. And obviously in the modern game, Austin Gleeson is up there with the best of them as well.
Absolutely. And like speaking of nostalgia, Brian, I was talking to Dan Shanahan earlier in the show about 2007. That's the idea we're looking back at this week. And you were the man in the middle for the All-Ireland quarter-final that year against Cork, when you gave Waterford the equalising free when Donal Cusack covered the ball in front of the Canal goal. What do you recall about that particular incident?
Oh Lord, I'll never forget. I think there was about 30 or 40 seconds left, and I think it was Owen McGrath got a ball and he was going through, and all he had to do was tap it over the bar. He's 30 yards on, and he took on another solo. I was sort of saying he hit over the effing bar, Next thing he went for it. Next thing, of course, he got a little bit greedy when he got closer, and he went for a goal. And Dunlog made a fine save, and it was a rule that we were starting to be told to implement it a little bit more in matches. Simon Whelan from Offaly actually used to be a divil ahead when he blocked the ball to cover it. So Dunlog covered the ball, and there was no sign of the ball coming around, and it probably had very little option on you to give a free in. And at the time, it was a huge talking point because it wasn't a thing that was loaned for that often. But from then on, from that year on, naturally enough, that was the one rule. But that was a fantastic game. And actually, I refereed the semi-final then in 2007. And I think Waterford got hugely complacent and thought they just had to turn up. And Limerick caught them on the hop and beat them convincingly enough in the end. But that was a huge shock because even myself and the umpires going up that day for the semi-final said Waterford will definitely beat Limerick in this game. And it was a bit of a surprise for everyone.
And you refereed 4 All-Ireland hurling finals, Brian, 11, 13, 14 and 16. During your time as an inter-county referee, what was the best hurling match you ever refereed?
I suppose the replay in 14 and Tipperary's performance in 16 was up there, but one memory that sticks out, probably 2 memories I have refereeing, and I'll touch on the Waterford one in a minute, not because it's WL or anything like that, but my first memory was the 2013 qualifier in Nolan Park. Like, Tip and Kilkenny had contested finals and, fantastic battles down through the year. And Dublin had knocked Kilkenny out of the Leinster Championship, and I think Cork had dumped Tipperary out. And here they were meeting in a qualifier of a Saturday afternoon, that Saturday evening game in Nolan Park, and the tension I'll never ever forget. And while the standard of the game mightn't have been up there with some of the great games, the tension, the atmosphere, and the passion that was shown that evening is something I'll always remember. And it was probably it's the game that I'll never ever forget. And and then my second memory is that great Waterford team that just couldn't get over the line, and I refereed them in Munster finals. I'll never forget. I think it was 2010, Dan Shanahan's injury time or late goal in the extra time. It was played. It was a replay. It was 7:00 in Thurles of a Saturday evening, and Big Dan in extra time broke through, and a rasper off the wet ground into the net, and Waterford won the 2010 Munster final. Memories like that, and that team not to get over the line in an All-Ireland final. But I think Waterford's games from 6, 7, 8 right up along were some of the best games out there. And as we've seen the other day on television, the 2004 Munster final up there with the very, very best of games.
No, it sure was. And Brian, you stepped away from inter-county refereeing at the start of 2018. Do you miss it much now? No.
Actually, myself and my father had this conversation over the weekend after the Munster final was shown Sunday on television there. And we feel we got out at the right time because, referees are really being scrutinised now. And I don't think, there's a lot of... I used to like to let the game flow, and I don't think there's much, we'd say, common sense in it now that, a lot of referees now are blown. We saw in a game recently in the National Hurling League, up to 50 frees. And I'm sort of delighted that I didn't continue because pressure would have come on me to blow them frees as well. But obviously the pace of the game has gone hugely faster now too, and, to be up at them levels that them players are at now would be very difficult for me or any lad that's gone over the 40 years of age back at. But I definitely enjoyed my career. I started off in around 2003, elevated very quick, but I had a great 13 or 14 years of inter-county refereeing, and I wouldn't swap it for the world, that type of way. And I got out there sort of unscathed without huge major controversy. Naturally enough, 1 or 2 bits here and there, but overall, I'd have to say I enjoyed refereeing and had great memories and friends of it, that's for certain.
Yeah, I certainly gave great service over the years, Brian. And just a final one, just going back to this, the Dream Hurling 15 of the last 50 years. Can you just remind us again where people can find details of this?
Yeah, obviously on the Dungarvan Leader website and in all social media outlets that we'll have. We were sort of launched it last week, so we'll be really plugging it more in the coming weeks. And it was interesting when we sat down that I had to ring Noel Cummins first on his landline, and then I had to add Liam Gleeson in on his mobile. So I introduced 2 men of great experience into a conference call, and such crack we had. We could have done with blood subs sometimes, who should be on the panel for the goalkeepers, who should be in the back. And of course, Liam Gleeson wanted every Cork fella to have upon a jersey on it, and Noel Cummins had put him back into line with a jab of a hurl fairly quick, and I was there trying to give the up to the last 10 or 20 year players the high felt, but we had great crack over the 2 weeks picking it, and next thing I'd be getting this, no, ring at 8:30 now, and if you didn't ring at 8:30, there'd be trouble. So we had a great bit of crack and a very enjoyable experience, I have to say, putting this together. So hopefully as many people we can enter, and you'll see it on Facebook on the Dungarvan Leader and also on Brian Gleeson Properties as well. So it's a great initiative and a great idea by Liam, that's for certain.
Well, Brian, thanks a million for taking the call this evening, and best of luck with the competition. It's with the Dungarvan Leader and Brian Gleeson Property, the Dream Hurling 15 of the last 50 years. Thanks a million, Brian.
Very welcome, Tomas. Very welcome.